Hoka, hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita Livestream. I am your host, the Muskogee Creek from Denver, Colorado in the United States. My co-host Angelus has not arrived yet. Must have had a rough night last night. So anyway, today we're going to talk about, what we want to see in a sequel or trilogy or even possibly a series. By the way, I put a link in the chat. If anybody wants to come on and start talking about Alita, just click on that link and you're good to go. Okay, here is some of the high level stuff, I guess, that we want to at least start talking about in terms of what we want to see in a sequel itself. Some of us wants to see, an arc in the Badlands that would include maybe Barjack, with Den meeting Figure 4 in Chaos, her and her Toon body, which is, I guess, is what you see on the right there in that anime, or that could be the Imaginos body, not sure. Also, there's the Zapan arc. I know I want to see the Zapan arc because I think Zapan's going to have an axe to grind in terms of wanting some revenge or something like that on Alita, kind of humiliating him in front of all those Hunter warriors in the Kansas bar. And then, of course, Motorball is something we definitely want to see. We want to see a little more involvement from Josh again, but there's other characters there other than Josh again. Certainly, there's a whole host of Motorball players that we weren't even introduced to, but a couple we know of are Adjicutty, Crimson Wind. I guess Zariki's another one. Juggernaut would be another one that we'd want to see those players, those Motorball players engaged. Or not engaged, not like they're going to get married, but being a part of the sequel itself and what their roles would be in it. We definitely probably want to see Alita return to Zalem. And then one of my favorites that's in the actual Last Order, and this might not be in a sequel, this might be in a trilogy and maybe a third movie if we're lucky enough to get one, which I think we will eventually. But the Zenith of Things tournament, which is what we saw there in the toward the end of, or mostly the last volume, I guess, of the Last Order, and certainly there are others. So if anybody wants to come on and talk, by all means do it. I'm not bashful, and you shouldn't be either. That means you, Flynn, you can get on here. I know you and Dizzy have been kind of arguing with each other in the chat. So, Dizzy, you can come on too if you want. And Finn, you don't have to worry about your English. It's not a problem. Okay, let's talk about the Badlands. One of my favorite character of all time, not all time, I mean, Alita is obviously my favorite character, but of those supporting characters that are in the Alita saga, my favorite is Figure 4. He's kind of a big burly guy. He's definitely a human, an organic. I think he does get his right arm. He eventually gets a cybernetic right arm, but he is mostly human. And as you can see in one of those drawings there, he and Alita become, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I guess, but he and Alita become somewhat of an item, so they form a kind of a romantic relationship and that kind of thing. But before they do, they actually fight each other, and Alita just really kicked the crap out of him. So that was kind of a funny part of it for me, because I think Figure 4 just kind of looked at her and saw, like a small person. He thought maybe, well, I'm not going to have any problem with this. And then when he got into a fight with her, he quickly realized, holy crap, she is fast, So anyway, she literally stomps him in the mud, but he keeps coming. He doesn't give up. And I guess that's one of the things that that Alita, that endeared himself to Alita in terms of her, how she felt about him, and eventually it became a romantic thing. And then there's Chaos. Chaos, ran that radio station out in the Badlands, and he certainly himself has some of these capabilities inherent in him as a person. He can touch objects, he can touch people, and he can pretty quickly get a reading on their entire past. So anyway, Chaos it's called psychometry, I think is what it's called. And all he has to do, for instance, if he touched the Damascus blade that Alita carries, then he would pretty quickly know how to use it and be effective with it. So he's basically, he has that kind of capability to absorb knowledge from all kind of objects, not just people, not just cyborgs, but even inanimate objects. He can touch them and sort of figure out what they're, what they've been through, how to use them, if it's a tool of some kind or a weapon, and he figures that out. And then you see on the lower right-hand corner there a character named Den. And Den is actually the leader of a rebellious group out in the Barjack. And actually, he's really, Chaos is actually him, I guess, or becomes him. And their psyches are merged or something like that. So, but Den's like a big hulking, kind of a cyborg himself, or it could even be an android. I can't remember from the manga. But anyway, he leads that whole Barjack rebellion, and they're trying to kind of overthrow Zalem or whatever. And at one point, if any of you have read the manga, which I'm sure many of you have, is that they at some point they actually develop like a big gun that they put on that they put on this rail car, and it's like a 20-inch cannon, I think, or something similar to that. It could even be bigger. And the idea was to shoot it at Zalem and hit that space elevator and try to get Zalem to crash to Earth, because they figure that Zalem is kind of putting everyone on Earth, including them, under their thumb. So anyway, that's one of the things that the Barjack, that they don't like. They don't like being under anybody's thumb, and they basically, they're rebelling. So, and Alita gets involved with the Barjack. And as a matter of fact, in that particular arc, she's actually wearing, or she actually not wearing, but she has a tuned body, and that's it's a step below, I think, the Imaginos body. It might even be somewhat equal to the Berserker body in terms of some of its abilities. And I'm not sure if she can manipulate plasma with that body or not. Anyway, that's something I know I would like to see, her out in the Badlands, away from Iron City. Now, we all know that in a sequel that, that we're going to have to see if Alita 2 is going to be, or the sequel itself is going to be profitable, then it's going to have to, a lot of it's going to have to take place in Iron City, and that's just economics. They're going to have to do that to make sure that, they make some money, because, I think the budget for Alita, at least the initial production budget, was like $170 million. Now, they were able to whittle that down with grants and some other things down to about $150 million. And then, of course, after the movie itself was out, there was a lot of Blu-ray sales and that kind of thing, which actually raised, the amount of money they grossed on it. And Angelus just arrived. Hello, Angelus.
Hello, hello.
What's happening? Boy, your mic sounds a lot better.
It's a detachable mic, like it like plugs into the headset, and then the mic itself is like on a adjustable boom, if that's what it's called, or like the adjustable arm sort of thing, and yeah, because it's attachable, it must have come off when I like put on and take off my headset, so that's why it took me a while to try and find it.
Okay. Well, anyway, Angelus, we had just started this. I guess I kind of went through this one here pretty quick. The possible arcs that we might see, in a sequel or a trilogy itself. And that's just, these are what we're going to talk about, in the stream here. We're not going to actually, there's a whole bunch of different stories in there, certainly limited to more than just, 6 stories, obviously. But, that's kind of what we're going to start out with here today, I think. And of course, I'm on, I just got through wrapping up the Badlands. So is there anything in the Badlands arc that maybe is you would like to see? I mean, you've read the manga. I think you and I are reading the manga at the same time. So any specific, kind of, sub storylines in the manga and the Badlands arc that you might want to see?
Definitely needs to have the mini Alita figure. Basically the one that I think it's the one that Lou has, if I can remember correctly, without cheating and looking at the manga, even though it's right beside me.
Yeah.
I think Lou's the one that the up in Zalem.
Yeah.
It's like a, I don't know, like a portable, almost like a portable speaker or something in a sense. And then whenever a leader talks, the figure talks, and then she would speak through a normal mic to communicate with the leader.
Yeah. Yeah, she's I forget her title. Welcome, Maxie. How's it going?
Yep, just trying to wake up, man. What about yourself?
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking about the various arcs. I got 6 of them planned. Let me just go back real fast just so you can look at them. So that's kind of what we're going to hit. Now, there's a lot more. Like I said, there's a lot more stories, than just these 6, obviously. So anyway, that's kind of what we're going to start out with. And then, of course, just like with every other stream, that I do, or that David and I do, we, it always, branches off into other topics. So, and that's okay, So in the Badlands arc, Maxie, I talked a little bit, Angelus wants to see, Lou's involvement and that kind of thing, and she's, I think she's Alita's contact with the tuned program, or kind of like somebody she communicates with, and they actually develop a friendship, I guess. And then, of course, I've already gone over. I definitely want to see Figure 4, for sure.
Why would you want that?
Yeah, that's right.
For the same reason.
I mean that's almost as inevitable as pineapple on pizza, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's right.
Well, I was going to say that it's like that's the reason why we want it. For the same reason that we put pineapple on pizza.
There you have it.
It's just a natural progression.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I said it. Because I knew you were going to say to sort of get in first.
Yeah, you saw that poll that came out that had, I can't remember what the poll exactly was. Alita's favorite foods, and I think chocolate was 1, and pineapple on pizza was number 2. So, although pineapple on pizza never came up in the movie, obviously, but so anyway, Maxie, what do you, what would you like to see in this arc, the Badlands arc?
Well, I haven't actually got all the way through to thinking about that yet. I'm still sort of working on the second movie as I see it. I don't think that it's a 3-movie arc. I think it's a 4-movie arc, but that's just me.
Yeah. Okay.
There's too much to squeeze it all into 3 movies because you have to chop out massive bits, and I think that there's arcs in there that certainly need to be told because they're part of her development. You can't leave the Japan arc out because that's instrumental into leading into the tuned arc. So I mean, if you cut that out, then it's sort of like, well, how's she going to end up there? So it's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I think we were talking about Berserker Zapan or Zerker Pan, I guess, or whatever they call him. We're going to talk about him next, I guess. Yeah, I want to see that. We got to have that one. That's a must. So, yeah, Finn, pineapple on pizza. Yep, what the hell? That's right. So, yeah, Finn was all on top of that one. So anyway, but anyway, in the Badlands arc itself, there's so many stories in there. Her on the train, and then putting that big cannon, shooting that, that big projectile at Zalem and Den, and all those smaller stories within that whole big arc. Anything sticks out at you there, Maxie, that you just got to see if they're going to hit the Badlands arc?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know that you can really leave much out.
Yeah.
Obviously, her interaction with Koyomi would be a bit different because Koyomi's older.
Yeah.
But Koyomi could still, become Den's #1 fan. I can't see that's not an option.
Yeah, she becomes a follower of Den, doesn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess my buddy Turlo out there, he wants to see Master Clive Lee, or Alita Army. He wants to see Master Clive Lee in there. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that myself. That'd be pretty nice. So
I've got to say, one of the things that I was most disappointed about in the original movie was that Clive Lee wasn't a cyborg.
yeah, that was weird. He was all organic, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's just as some Asian martial arts dude, and I'm like, anybody can have that.
Yeah.
I wanted the dude with the big metallic sort of hat thing.
Yeah.
He was cool.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been cool. But I guess they made him organic because, the fact that he could hang with those hunter warriors and he's organic might say something about his abilities as a martial artist, So, yeah,
well, in the OVA, he was the one that had killed Hugo's brother.
Yeah.
He came up to Hugo as well. So, I mean,
yeah, that's right.
he played a pivotal role, but they made it Japan in the movie, so it kind of like cut him out. So his involvement in the development of the story is kind of like, well, what's he going to do now? So
yeah, the whole Badlands story itself. I mean, that could be a whole movie in itself, I think.
Den wants a series, the missing 10 years. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'd be hard to squeeze 10 years into one movie, I think.
That's what she said.
So anyway, yeah. Well, the Badlands arc, that was that. I mean, there was nothing about the manga that I didn't like, but the Badlands arc was one of my favorites. I just loved. I just got through telling everyone that I just love that fight that she had with Figure 4. How she whipped his butt. She just really annihilated him almost, and he was a pulp, in the mud and all that, stomping him in the mud. So, and he kept coming at her, So I mean, I kind of like that about him. He just didn't give up.
Well, I've always said that if I had to describe Alita with one word, it would be perseverance, and that's one of the major characteristics of Figure 4 as well. So I mean, that's probably what she saw in him.
Yeah.
Like she was ready to give up and die in the desert from dehydration.
Yeah.
Her soft body was failing her, and in that scene where he says, "Look, if I can't die carrying the woman I love, then what's the point of living?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and then bloody Bigot feels sorry for them and makes it rain fish.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was a good scene. That was one of my favorite scenes in the manga right there. Them just kind of laughing, you could see them just laughing, the fish were coming down. That was pretty cool.
Just to answer Finn again, Murdoch is Mateague. So
that's
technically,
right.
we already got him.
Yeah, that's right.
But he'll be back for the Japan arc.
Yeah, the dog guy. Yeah. Okay. Anything else about the Badlands arc? I mean, there's a lot in it.
There is. You could probably trim a little bit of it. I do
Yeah.
like the Mole Men section because it sort of leads into chaos. Talking about chaos.
Yeah, that's right.
I would really have liked to actually have read the version of the script that had chaos in the first movie, like when they went out to the Badlands.
Oh,
to
yeah,
find
what Lady
Bobby
Killer
and-
Chris told us. Yeah, that would have
Yeah.
been great.
I mean, you could possibly see them like it would be a new scene as they're driving back with the body in the back of the van, and they drive up round a curvy road in the mountains. You know, like those roads they have in South America where they're just ridiculous on
Yeah.
the edge of a cliff kind of deal, something like that. And they come up over a bit of a rise, and there's the chaos van crashed in the bottom of a ravine or something.
Yeah.
And they climb down and find you. But I suspect that Cameron actually had plans for Chaos later on that were a bit closer to the manga than that, which is why they didn't keep that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be a neat scene or a neat arc to see. Yeah, you could really. Matter of fact, you could probably take this whole Badlands thing and turn it into 2 movies. Actually,
Well,
Yeah.
yes and no. I mean, what you got to think is the story has got to tell a story of rising to a crescendo and having some sort of payoff at the end. That was one of the complaints of people who don't understand manga storytelling. That the way the final scene led towards what's going to happen next, a lot of people weren't happy with it. They were like, "Oh, the movie didn't have a proper ending. It wasn't resolved correctly." But they don't understand how these things work, and therefore they want it all to be wrapped up neatly in a bow, and it's not going to be because there's too much. Like, there's so much that's supposed to happen
yeah,
that there's not time for in 2 hours, and it's busting at the seams, and you're not going to have a nice, neat little tied up with a bow ending.
yeah. I think you're right.
Like this.
Yeah, the content. What I was talking about you could make 2 movies of it, is that you have enough content in this
Oh yes, definitely.
to do 2 movies. But I'm not sure you could hold an audience on just the Badlands for 2 movies. I'm not sure you can do that. And anyway, welcome Dizzy B, and holy crap, I'm surrounded by Aussies again. So,
G'day, mate.
What's going on?
okay, hey, Diz.
Happy Anzac Day weekend. They're dizzy. I saw you getting stuck into it early there in that little video.
Yeah, once I finish my coffee, I'll put that down and pick up another beer.
Beer and coffee. That's great, Diz.
Well, the tradition is beer and rum.
Yeah, that's right. Do you guys drink Boilermakers in Australia or Australia? Y'all drink Boilermakers?
Don't even know what that is, mate.
Well, you take whiskey, like Irish whiskey, and you get a shot of Irish whiskey, and you drop it in a mug of beer. And of course, the shot sinks to the bottom of the mug, and so it's kind of separated. And then you just drink it.
Yeah. We call those death charges, and we usually do them with Jägermeister.
Oh,
In beer.
odd. Now, you guys don't do anything half-assed there in Australia, do you?
Nah,
Not
mate.
twice.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you sometimes get princesses like Dizzy who have shandies.
Oh, my
What kind of shandies, mate?
Oh, God. Go ahead, Angela.
Who cares? It's diluting beer. Why would you
Yeah.
fucking
The
have
only
a
thing you
shandy
should
for?
dilute beer with is the stronger alcohol.
It's kind of like a party beer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Probably one thing that pineapple doesn't belong with beer.
How about a pineapple shandy?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about that. Not Shandy anything. Anyway, Grüß Scott, Foxfire, wie geht es dir heute?
Mir geht's gut. What's
Ja,
up, you cunts?
He's speaking Flyer.
Fuck all, mate.
that's good. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
mate.
So anyway, Dizzy, what would you like to see in the bad? Any particular thing in the Badlands arc you would like to see in a if they put the Badlands arc, which I hope they would, in the sequel?
I can't remember the Badlands, man. All I know is I want the motorball arc.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that one later.
How you can't remember about the Badlands? It's one of the best parts of the manga. Really.
I don't know, man. I didn't really understand what was going on. But I remember Figure 4. He was a ripper, so we got to have him in there.
Hey, Dizzy, just quickly, that video, I know Maxie knows what I'm talking about. That wasn't your swan drink, was it?
Swan drink.
Swan drink. What? what
I'm listening, man.
Long story, but
Oh,
basically Dizzy was getting stuck into the VB, and Swan Song was playing in the background. So I said, I hope that wasn't your swan drink.
She was pumping, mate, and that's always me swan drink. Ready to go?
So basically, it was a video that Dizzy shared with me and Angelus in a DM where he had his computer monitors with all his fancy Alita backgrounds, and he's got his Prime 1 statue and all his other Alita merch there next to it, and a case of VB stubbies. So that was like front and center, and he'd already had 3. There was 3 empty sitting there.
So what VB study is that's an Aussie beer? Is that what that is, or what?
It's the Aussie beer.
The Aussie beer. Excuse
It
me.
is the Aussie beer.
Bullshit.
I mean, you're
Come on, mate.
you're in Tasmania and you drink a Victorian brew. I mean, what the fuck, man?
Mate, I'm in Australia and I drink the Aussie brew.
Next thing you know,
Yeah, mate. None of this craft beer
Jesus
stuff. I bet you that's what you drink, mate. Bit of craft beer, think little finger in the air while you take your little sippies.
No, mate.
Hey, I like bitter. I like ale. I like stout. I don't like lager. I don't like
Jeez,
lager at all.
we've come a fair way off track from the Badlands. Far out.
Well,
This is
in
my
the band,
high,
you need a beer.
short and stout. There is her Damascus blade, and there is her target. I don't know.
Well, come on, mate.
Welcome, Just a Fan.
Thank you.
You can join us.
Party. We're having a party this morning.
Yeah,
This afternoon, where you go.
Hey, it's all good. Can party Friday night, can party Saturday morning.
That's exactly.
And some people like Dizzy just keep going all weekend. So it's a party from knock off time on
Nobody
Friday.
says you have to stop.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah,
Diz.
exactly.
I heard Diz doesn't sleep on the weekend. He just goes from Friday.
So Friday night time
Yeah, all
here.
Sleep is for the weak, remember?
Yo, guys, I just watched a movie. For me, it's a new one, but it's actually already pretty old. You can guess what it is?
Is it the OVA?
Something to do from the ranch.
Yeah, it isn't even Alita related, but it's kind of oddball of a movie, which I had on my list for a very long time. And it's very fantastical, and it's like it had a huge budget, and it's kind of all over the place. I just finished it, and it was a fun movie. Definitely, it was a really fun movie. But I can't see easily why it's one of those movies that didn't meet the box office expectations, and the critics didn't like it.
John
It's
Carter.
actually a fun movie.
That sounds like a movie I'm familiar with.
Zulu says Toy Story 1.
It's actually John Carter from Mars.
Picked it. I
I enjoyed
like
that
20
movie.
seconds ago.
I actually enjoyed that movie. I mean, there's a lot wrong with the science in it, of course, but the story is great. I mean,
Yeah, I like the story.
For the time that it was written, the science was reasonable.
Yeah, the science was right on at that time. They thought there were canals on Mars and all that stuff. Yeah, so that's right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, when was it written, the book? I haven't.
1905, the first one.
Yeah, that's right.
90 what?
Yeah,
1905.
Yeah,
1905.
yeah.
No wonder that they thought
Creaky's time.
breeze, atmosphere, and all that things.
Hey.
That makes no sense. That the movie was like it was. Like it was all. I mean, the gravity stuff. I don't know if they added it later on, but lower gravity and all that stuff, and he was jumping like I don't know. He was super strong and all that stuff. That was cool. But that you could breathe, that there is water that you can drink. Of course, that doesn't make sense. Or that there are creatures and animals running around there. It makes sense for 1905. It actually set up a cool, you could say environment or universe, to set on the story, even if it doesn't make sense by nowadays standards. But it was a pretty fun movie. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was, definitely was. But anyway, Foxfire. What in the Badlands arc would you like to see in the sequel?
There's quite always, of course, Dan and Chaos, of course. Those both characters are very interesting, and I would like to see the basement of, or not basement, but this base that Nova built up with, I don't know, 1,000 madness things, from the manga. It's kind of really, really, I would say gross in a way, and maybe they will tune it down here and there.
Yeah.
But I hope still that they go there and show how crazy this scientist is, as a scientist Nova. Yeah, depends where they go with Nova overall. I hope it's not just the German Nova, that there are maybe different Novas with different personality aspects, so they could make use of this split personality of him, or like, there's so much that you could do, And of course, I would love to see her tuned body armor or suit. That would be really cool. It's her most fashionable outfit, so they can go really wild on that one. And with her gears and all the tools she has, she's really versatile in that. And I would love to see this Mad Max action style, so they could go really wild on the action in that movie.
Yeah, I want to see him. I want to see him do her up in that Toon body, make her real sexy, so it makes so it drives the damn haters wild, because that's one of the things they didn't like about it.
There's this one panel where she pulls a zipper down and she's putting the sweat off her head. That one is like. Yeah, that was a real fan service thing.
If you really want to fuck with Manola Dargis, you need to have the scene where, sorry, come on, brain work, where Chaos repairs Alita using psychometry.
Yeah.
That would be hard.
I want to see.
They will come to Cameron's mansion with pitchforks. They want to rip him apart. They will tear him a new one for that.
I want to see her. I want to see Alita slug Chaos too. I want to see that.
Look, I've been watching fan service anime recently, so got nothing on anything in the Alita stuff. Like, it's just weak sauce compared to that fan service anime. My God.
Yeah, nowadays anime are wild. You can't compare to that 90s manga. So no way.
Have any of you guys on the panel seen High School DxD?
Oh,
Well, what was the name of it, Maxie?
High School DxD. It's basically devils at high school, like actual devils from hell at high school.
No, I didn't. I saw the one that had that guy that was in the Terminator first or second Terminator movie where they were all alien features. I saw that, but that wasn't that one, was it?
No, this is full on anime. It's not live action.
Yeah. Let me ask Just a Fan. Just a Fan, what do you want? What would you like to see in the Badlands arc in a sequel?
I guess the main thing that I would want to see is a battle on top of a train.
Oh, yes.
That's like, you're combining basically Mad Max Fury Road, and just because that's not over the top enough, you're throwing a giant locomotive.
Okay,
Yes.
I have to intercede here. You fuckers all need to read my fanfic, all right? Because
I did.
Foxfire,
I'm like your number one fanfic.
Oh, good. Okay, so that's why you're saying you want to battle on top of the train, because I wrote it.
Well, no, I'm saying that anyways, and then you wrote it and made my day.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, that's a tick. Yay! Somebody's actually read all the way to that part.
And I love that the whole train, which is of course nuclear driven, explodes in a huge nuclear explosion at the end. So just to have the topping on the cake,
Yeah.
Of course. It's very
Maxie, can you turn it
cyberpunk.
into an audio book so I can have a go at it?
Yes, I know. You're not the only one who's asked me to do that, man. Because apparently,
Dizzy can't read.
well,
Yeah, I can't read, but I can listen.
most of the time Dizzy's cross-eyed because he's that drunk, so he's got to he's got to listen to it. But
So does that mean
yeah,
the manga left to right?
Enigma Seeker doesn't read either.
I actually, when I first picked up the manga, I was reading it the normal way you would read a book here, and it did it. I was raging. I'm like, this is shit. That doesn't even make any fucking sense. And then, someone told me, nah, you got to read it backwards, mate. And I did, and I was like, oh, this is sweet.
Well, I think you're bored out of time, man, because the original Viz translation, all the panels were flipped, so it read left to right, but everybody was left-handed.
Ah, yeah, right.
Jeez, you made a tenet on the books, you went back in time reading that book. Of course, it doesn't make sense.
Well, no, it's not. He didn't. No, I don't think he was reading it. Oh, so you read it actually backwards.
Yeah.
So from the end to the beginning. Okay, I get that.
Yeah, he made a tenet on the book.
I bet that made no sense to you whatsoever when you
I was
read
actually
it.
reading the panels that way as well, from left to right.
Yeah, and so the people who are supposed to talk second talk first, and all of the flow is backwards. Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm like, oh, there must be a special type that read these. And then I worked out I was the special one.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience you got there.
Yeah. Anything else on the Badlands, you guys?
I guess to me, the Tooned arc.
Oh yeah.
The Tooned arc to me would be one of the most important, and then it's a toss-up. I think you could blow past the Barjack Rebellion pretty quickly, and I think then after that, it's obviously Den and Nova, and I think you could deal with Den pretty quickly too. So that would be the main focus, at least for me, be. The sequel would be obviously Zapan and Motorball.
Yeah.
You've got the Tooned arc with, depending on how much you want to condense it, you could take care of Barjack pretty quick and then go into Den. And then the final movie is Nova.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
So
pace
that would
it
be
like
4
that,
total.
to be honest. I would pace it like that the second movie would end on the Yellow Door part. That's the part where she is hired for the Tuned, and that you spend the third movie for the Badlands, for Tuned arc, and then the final confrontation with Nova. So you wouldn't need to cut short on the Badlands arc, because the Barjack are pretty important, and they should get their time, and you can't rush that in 15 minutes or so. So I would say that that whole Badlands stuff deserves its own movie, basically.
100% agree. So that'd be 4 films total, counting this first one, counting Battle Angel.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take the first, we had Hugo and all until Hugo dies. The second one, you could take care of the motorball and maybe go into the Zapan arc. And after the Zapan arc ended, you are already at the Yellow Door chapter, because then she gets questions if she want to work with Salem or not. And then the third movie you could spend with the Badlands, and it would work out. At least in my head, it does work out.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the way the first movie's structured, you've got sort of the resolution of the Hugo arc,
Yes.
which I was very happy that they offed him, and I'm hoping he doesn't come back because fuck Hugo, he's a little
Kill
shit.
Yeah.
Fuck him every single time.
Yeah. He goes dead. Let's keep it
Yeah,
dead.
Just has to
Every
die.
time he said.
We should do a hashtag thing once the sequel is announced, saying hashtag leave Hugo dead.
Yes.
And
Keep him dead.
trend that
Yes.
fucking shit, man.
Don't bring him back. We buy a billboard and write it there. Don't bring Hugo back.
Yeah. Leave Hugo dead. He's good as manure.
Yeah, you can put Hugo in a prequel. You can do that. But
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, not a sequel. Because
Exactly.
it would not agree with a manga. That
It
Flashback.
would not agree with me either.
yeah,
I can see him coming back in a
it wouldn't
flashback.
agree with Creaky either.
But if you look at the way the movie ended, you had the resolution of the arc, the second chapter, and then the second volume, and then it did that time jump, and then you had introduction of a major bad guy, right? So at the end of the second movie, you could finish up the Japan arc because that's a major sort of resolution of an arc, and then you can have the Yellow Door chapter as sort of that linker, and then you have however long a time jump they want, and then you have Alita getting on the train, sorry, Figure 5 getting on the train, and Alita being on the train playing the harmonica, and it's sunset, and you hear that conversation, like Alita's there playing the harmonica, and then it sort of fades a little bit, and you hear that conversation. This is how I'm planning to end my fanfic, actually, is.
And that would be the perfect ending for the sequel as a movie, because you end up the movie basically on another high note. Like the first one ended with Alita pointing her sword to Salem, which is basically a high note after Hugo died. So they rounded up the movie very well, and that scene looks great. It lifts up the mood after the Yellow Door chapter, because the Yellow Door chapter is a downer, and Alita is at her worst point so far, basically willing to give up. And then she has to make this deal which she doesn't like at all. And you have to give something to the people that they could end the movie on a high note. And her sitting on the train, talking with Hugo, watching into the sunset, and having the wind flow through the hair, play the harmonica. This would be a great high note to end the movie.
I agree, but the part that I'm planning to do is like she's playing the harmonica and she's thinking to herself, well, this is what my life is now, and I'm a tuned agent, but maybe I can be a bridge between the people on the ground and Zalem, and that's what I'm aiming for. And then you hear that conversation between Figure 4 and who's the guy that he's hanging around with?
The accompanied Lita. He and Lita to the.
I can't think of the guy's name, but you know who I'm talking about. And he's like, no, don't go and talk to her. She's the angel of death. Anybody goes and talks to her doesn't live very long. And the other guy's like, I don't believe in any of that sort of crap. And he goes up to it. Like, you could almost make Figure 4 Aussie, and you could get Dizzy Beater playing.
Yes. Also,
it
Figure
just goes,
4.
it goes up, and you have that first very interaction between Figure 4 and Alita, and Alita says, "You probably don't want to hang around here. People who hang around me usually end up dead." And she says, "What's your name anyway?" And he says, and then it just, and this is the first time you see him. It zooms in on him, and you see who's going to play him in the next movie. And it says, "Nice to meet you. My name's Figure 4," and that's where it ends.
That
And
guy
you have
is
an introduction of a major character for the next movie at the end of the
yeah,
movie
yes,
before.
absolutely.
And that's the way
like
I
a
think
Nova
it's got a
reveal.
really nice cadence. It's
Yeah.
been set up in the first movie, and he used it again at the end of the second one.
Yes, and you could, you know, they brought in Edward Norton, a high caliber actor for Nova. They could do something really cool. If they cast somebody really interesting, they also would spike interest automatically for the third installment, and it would be good bait, you know, for the next one. And you still have a pretty round movie, you know. It has to go on, but still it ends on a high note. And what interesting that here Figure 4 is from Alhambra, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
That's I tried to
York.
locate it in my head where that place is on Earth. I forgot that.
York's the name of the guy. Thank you, Josephine.
Yeah, you're welcome. I just looked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't Blizzard that sort of mutant guy who's Nova, Professor Nova's bodyguard? Isn't that Blizzard?
Blizzard?
Somebody was saying Blizzard. I was Jeff. Jeff was saying it's Blizzard, but I think Blizzard's actually the sort of mutant bodyguard. That
that's a big one.
Yeah, the big guy, the big sort of mutant-looking guy.
Yeah.
I think that's Blizzard. Or Balzar.
So I'm going to ask this: how do you guys feel about post-credit scenes?
I'm not a fan of it just because it's a Marvel thing, and you don't really want to be copying them.
I guess my thought on it is post-credit scenes have been around since about the mid-50s.
That's right. Yeah, I would know too.
And it would be a really easy way to add on, especially since a lot of the manga, they do end on a darker note. So you could end the film on a high note and then do a mid and post-credit scene and get your, like, put the yellow door ending in like a mid-credit scene.
I think the yellow door has to be in the main part. You could possibly put the meeting of Alita and Figure 4 in a post-credit scene, but I don't see why. I mean, you've already set up a cadence.
The movie without adding time to the movie.
True. No, it does add time to the movie. Come on, the movie's length is from the opening credits to the end of the music at the end of the credits. So, that is the length of the movie. The length of the movie is important, not for the length of the movie. The length of the movie is important for how much time it takes up and how many sessions you can get in the cinema in a day. That is why they didn't want to do 2.5 hours, because you get one less session in a day.
Oh, that's
so
true.
One less opportunity to make money. And it's all about making the money back. So that's why that was the main reason, like beyond the cost of more CGI, the main reason that it was 2 hours and not 2.5 was the number of sessions you can get in a day.
Right.
Which
is
is
interesting how much that matters, and that in the times we live on now, because a lot goes via streaming, but in 2 or 3 years it could be again totally different. And I hope that happens, things go more back to normal, so cinema should come back stronger again. So that should matter more in the future when Alita 2 hits the theaters.
Well, I hope you're right, Foxfire, but, with the success of streaming the way it's been going, I think the cinemas are going to have an uphill battle at least, I mean, they could, but
You have only to look at HBO Max. They have the same day model, and it has a good reason because they know streaming alone doesn't do enough bucks even today. And with Godzilla versus Kong, they hold in a same box office like Alita, like 400 million around, which is the strongest box office since in the pandemic time, or one of the strongest. And both income streams may fill up and bring them enough money to to cover the costs and all that stuff. So they need to do both. Theaters are by far not out of the game, but we need still a little bit time for them to recover.
Agreed. Any other thoughts on the Badlands?
More Badlands.
Well, we kind of hit the Badlands a little bit anyway.
Yeah, I mean, going off what Lita told us the other week, a 3-movie arc kind of moves straight out into the Badlands for the second movie, and that's sort of not where the narrative was going. Like, obviously, she's still got to play motorball, so they can't just jump into the Badlands and just do it. Oh yeah, I played motorball for a while. Played this guy named Joshigan. I beat him or he beat me, depending on.
She did say that that was supposed to be a big thing in the next one, but that's what that big setup was. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they've set the movie up that there's more motorball to come, so that's not Badlands. I mean, they want to try and knock over the motorball arc in the first act, and then get her out into the Badlands for the rest of the movie. It's almost doing disservice to both of those sections of the manga, because you either need to really finish up the arcs that are in the city in the second movie and then move to the Badlands in the third movie, or you need to jump straight into the Badlands to have enough time to do it properly, if you get my meaning.
It's probably just going to cram it again.
Well, yeah.
Hopefully
the way I'm writing my fanfic is I'm overlaying arcs. So you've got the motorball arc finishing up, or coming to a crescendo, while Japan's lost his shit and killed his girlfriend, and so that's already starting
exactly
within the motorball arc. And I've even had Barjack attack a train, so I'm setting up the tuned arc already. So it's all happening. It's not serial. It's parallel almost.
You could do a whole movie just on the bloody arm wrestle they have in the motorball segment.
I'm doing my utmost to fit that in. I'm doing my utmost to fit that scene in, but they've kind of referenced that scene already with the "I give you my heart" scene.
Right.
So it doesn't quite work on as a whole. You've got to modify it slightly so it's not just repeating the same thing over again. Like, she's not just whipping her heart out at every opportunity to show off.
Maybe she offers this time her leg or something else. I don't know.
But I mean, it's a completely different dynamic. She was offering her heart up to the boy that she loved, her first love, right? In the first movie. The second movie, she's so feeling so dark. It's like, I'm going to fucking win this, and I don't win it, just destroy my cybernetic heart and kill me. It's like, the fuck? Completely dark. It's completely the other way around. So maybe they would do it exactly the same way. It's like, oh, she's whipped her heart out again, but for the opposite reason. Okay, fair enough.
Hey, you guys, I gotta let my dog in.
I mean,
I would agree to that. I think it's entirely possible.
Then they might have done that in the second one as a wager, not to offer it to Hugo. But yeah, I can see why they pulled it ahead and put it in that scene with Hugo and all that stuff, and it helped to characterize Alita more. It brought it really on point who she is and what kind of person she was at the time.
Yeah, it's I mean, the whole thing I got from Lita the other week was that it's kind of like cooking without with a very vaguest of recipes, and you just keep playing with the ingredients and when they're added and how much is added until you get something that ends up tasting good. And you know, it's not a manga, it's not an OVA, it is a movie, and so it has a different context, it has a different you know, time. The setup times are quicker, things have got to be layered. There's so much more that's got to fit in to get enough meaning into those 2 hours. I mean,
Right.
you can't make a slower leader movie. You just can't. There's just too much going on. You've got to cram it all in there. And some people can't deal with the influx of data. You know, like they're working with 9600 baud modems, and you're getting you're getting fiber quantities of data, and they just can't deal with it. So.
Yeah, some of them
get used to
300 baud modems.
They can with a series.
Well,
The thing is, like, many people say because of that the story is contrived and too jammed and packed and too much at once. You know, that's the reason why they say that.
Yeah. To me, you could do. To me, I think you could do the motorball arc in an hour, as long as you were setting up everything that came after it. But depending on how much you wanted to set up during the motorball arc, I think that would push the time for motorball somewhere between an hour and about an hour 15, maybe. And then the remaining 45 minutes, depending on how much you set up, it would wrap up the Japan arc that much quicker.
Right.
So it's kind of a trade-off. It's a trade-off. If you set more up, the motorball arc takes a little bit longer, but you've also established more, so then you can wrap stuff up a little bit quicker on the tail end.
To deal with the Japan arc, basically it comes down to two more encounters with Japan. The first encounter is basically before or during the motorball arc, where she goes with Jeff McFay, the dog guy, you know, after Japan, and they kill him off, or they think that they have killed him off, and then you play the motorball arc, or the finish the motorball arc, and in the meantime, Nova finds him and rebuilds him, and you have all to parallelize that thing. So the Japan arc would basically happen, actually really almost completely in parallel to the motorball arc. Just the final act with the fight outside or in the town is basically right after the motorball stuff.
You know, I read that somewhere.
Yeah, it's in the manga it was kind of layered in a similar way. It wasn't like we do motorball and then the Japan arc. So some of the events happened in between, and I'm sure that Ray did similar in his fan fiction.
Yeah, there's I think there's like 3 or 4 years between the end of the motorball arc and the start of the Japan arc in the manga, so they are quite separate. But I mean, compared to the amount of time you have in a manga to tell these stories, you can spread them out. Whereas you know, in movies, I would love to have enough movies to tell all these stories individually and really focus in on each of the stories and the meanings and everything, but they just don't. They would not get like 8 movies to tell the original series. So
No way. I'm thinking about like the part where Alita goes with the dog guy after the plant. That was also in the manga after the motorball arc. I'm not sure about that. I think that happened in between, but maybe I'm wrong.
my recollection is that the motorball arc finished, and then Alita just went on to live on her own. Like she was living in a boarding house, and she had the Damascus blade tang wrapped up and hidden in a wall because she didn't want to use it anymore. She'd sort of moved away from that. She was teaching martial arts to basically the basics of Panzerkunst to a new sort of
Game those
cadre
Panzer
of a bunch of cunts, yeah, fine. Okay.
Come on.
To a new group of up and coming hunter warriors, and that was when that separate story, Sonic Finger, occurs. Sort of in that 4 years between Motorball and the start of the Zapanum.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've certainly established that, that McTeague would help Alita, go out, because he did that in the first movie. He helped her out, because I guess, and I think it would be an easy sell, for him to help her again go after Zapan, particularly since Zapan killed his daughter.
Actually, it's the other way around. She's basically returning the favor because he killed his daughter, so he's on a vendetta, and she helps him now.
Yeah.
So she would return even the favor. So it's a perfect. They set it up really good in the first movie that he helps her first. So yeah, it's cool.
In the Zapan arc, if they don't do that part where she cuts herself in half, then that is going to be a massive crime, because I would really want to see them think how much of a Disney princess is after she does that to herself.
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't just do that. She also hacks her own arm off.
And
Right.
it's just magic, man. That is, I love that stuff in the manga, man. That just shows how awesome she is.
Well, that's one of the things that I don't know if you've read Mars Chronicles, Disney, but in Mars Chronicles, when Alita finally shows down against Erica has to remind herself that Alita's never had a biological body, so she doesn't have that dysphoria of chopping a limb off or losing part of it. It's just like, I don't give a fuck, I'll just keep fighting. And that's sort of been shown in the Underworld fight, and it will come to the fore again during the Zapan fight. That she will sacrifice body parts to keep fighting.
Yeah.
But
This will leave a lot of people like really confused, because most people have this notion in mind. Naturally, you have to look after your body parts and etc. as a human, and they will look at Alita, and she has no regards for that. But she's also not a robot, of course. Most people know that she's not a robot, so they can't. They won't. They will struggle to grasp that she's still so reckless with her body, and especially in this political climate where we are, there's a lot of discussions every time we have cyborgs on the screen, like recently with the Winter Soldier. Then there come always these discussions of ableism and all that stuff up, and they will not understand that how she deals with her body, and they may even blame the writers and whatever. But it's like how she grew up, She like you said before, she had no biological body for the most of her life. Yes, they retconned it a little bit in theory for the movie verse, because she got it like in her teenage years. But I hope they go back to the manga roots and say that she had it like always, and that would justify her decision making with her body. So
yeah,
I reckon with that part where you were saying about or all of you were saying about if you've got a machine body or a human body, you have to start caring about your limbs. I reckon when it comes to crunch time and you're about to die, you wouldn't matter. You would do what you had to do. I mean, there's a movie about that called 127 Hours, where a dude's pinned in a rock and his arm's caught, and in the end of the movie, to survive, he just cuts his arm off.
Yeah,
but it took him a long time to come to that. It's not
127 hours, mate.
It's not a split-second decision.
Yeah, I know, but the point is, if you had to at the end of the day, you would do that. It obviously to be a shit house, but you would do it.
Well, the difference between a person and a cyborg is that, a cyborg loses a limb and it's like, well, it's reduced my ability to do stuff, but I'm not going to bleed out and drop dead.
No.
Whereas a person has that whole bleed out and drop dead problem. The only reason that guy didn't die was because he was so dehydrated his blood didn't flow out fast enough.
Yeah, let me interrupt you guys just for a second. Finn asked, who's stronger, is Josh Gunn or Zapan? I guess it would depend on, which
When you're asking.
Zapan had. I mean, if Zapan has his normal body that he has in the movie, then I would say Josh Gunn is. But if he's in that berserk body, he's going to be stronger than Josh Gunn.
It depends if it's on the motorball track or not.
Yeah.
You have also. I
Josh
think also that Jashigan has some. When you look at the manga, he has also some fighting. He has abilities like this, where he uses his arms there, so he can use ki for his advantage. I'm not sure if he can apply Herzaheon like Alita. That would give him an advantage even over the Berserker Zapan if he can do that. But I'm not sure if he can that technique.
No, he can't. He doesn't have high vibration sort of attacks. But the whole control of ki is that he can understand exactly where the break point in a combat is, so he knows the exact point to strike. It's kind of like Jedi powers, really.
Yeah.
In that he can see what's going to happen before it happens, just before it happens, and know when the best time to strike is with the right amount of power at the right angle to achieve his ends. But the whole thing about Zerkapan is that it's like the Borg in Star Trek. It's just unstoppable. The only thing that could slow it down is the collapse rounds. Nothing else will stop it.
Yeah, he actually laid waste to Iron City, didn't he?
And that will be very interesting if that comes to pass in the second movie, because you'll be seeing that set get shit canned.
Yeah, that's
the only thing that basically could stop the Berserkers upon is if you knew, like, basically the Panzerkunst technique of Herzaheon and destroy the remains of the brain. Of course, nanobots would still go haywire and look for another brain to hijack, but at least you would stop that the Zapan himself at that point.
Okay, anything else about Zapan or Motorball?
Not specifically, but I do feel like they need 4 movies. Just because there's so much that happens in Iron City, you can't move straight to the Badlands. You've got to finish up Iron City.
You think this is what they're talking about, having a series, but they've realised, this is going to be massive. We need to do a series, not a movie. But then I feel like they need to finish the trilogy and then have the spin-offs into the series.
Yeah, I know that the whole series concept goes against what Cameron wants. Cameron wants blockbusters.
You could do the 4 movies. I mean, there were lots of movies, there were lots of movies from books that did 4 films.
Hey, if Cameron wants to do 5 Avatar films, why the fuck not do 5 Alita films?
You could. And I definitely think the second film would be.
I think earning a lot of money had something to do with that.
But whereas he's just making shit up for Avatar. There's no source material. He's just going, I want lots of these movies because I think they're cool because they've got blue people in them, so I'll just make more of them.
They are cool.
I'm pretty sure he has come up with something to fill those 5 movies with some story. I mean, he's a kind of guy who you should not count out, in a way, and you think, okay, this next movie will be lame, and then he comes with something around, and it's cool, and people will like it, and think it will have a good story, and you will have a good theater experience. Also, he has also the reputation that his sequels are better than the first movie, so it might come out that Avatar 2 is better than the first one. So that would be only beneficial to us if that applies truly.
We kind of need for Avatar 2 to be wildly successful. My feeling on the whole situation now is we will not hear anything, no matter how loud we jump up and down, until after Avatar 2 returns, 2 billion. If Avatar 2 returns 2 billion, then they'll turn around and extend Cameron's line of credit because he will have paid them back, and then he'll get money for Alita movies. I think that's what we're going to have to wait for.
Yeah, he could actually
Unfortunately,
kind of do it simultaneously or concurrently if he has Robert Rodriguez doing Alita while he's doing yet another Avatar movie.
But it's sort of like you look at the money's going to Cameron because he's the producer, and then Robert Rodriguez is doing the directing. So Robert's working under Cameron. So Cameron's sort of like the guy with the purse strings, and Cameron's already got million. He did get it from Disney, but he's effectively got it from Disney because they took over the debt. So Cameron owes Disney because they bought Fox. He owes them $1 billion, right? That's not pocket change for anybody, really. Now they won't give him any more money, especially in the current financial climate, until he makes that back with interest.
Right.
So if he makes that back with interest, if Avatar 2 does $2 billion, I mean, I don't expect it to do 2.7, but if it does $2 billion, then we will see an Alita announcement not long after.
What's interesting is what I heard is that for the second part, and maybe even part of the third, that a lot of Cameron's own movie money is also in that movie, not just Disney money or Fox money.
Well, he must have a big ticket around.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if the second Avatar movie does $3 billion.
No worries.
I wouldn't be surprised, only because people are going to go see it. I mean, look at what Lion King did. Yeah. And that movie was garbage. So if the second Avatar is actually good, like
the one reason why I don't believe in 3 billion, 3 billion is it's not because of the movie being good or not. It's because a lot of theaters have closed completely.
Yes.
Hundreds of theaters, maybe thousands, and those won't be open back in 2022. So you don't have even the capacity to haul that much money in. I hope there's still enough left at that time to get even 2 billion. So I would really hope that happens. It will be still a raging success because he has done as much money that you can do with that amount of theaters that are there.
Yeah.
But you won't have the capacity that you had before COVID. I think that won't be possible.
We'll just have to pull a Dennis off, mate, and go and see it 100 times, eh?
Yeah. I'm not above that.
I don't think I could manage. I went and saw the original Avatar 3 times, and I thought that was about my limit. While it was an experience and the visuals were amazing, the story just was a bit flat, especially by the third time around. It's not an Alita story. It's not a story that touches your soul on a base level, and it's a universal story that everybody from any age can connect into, and it's just got the trappings of cyberpunk, which is what if you ever talk to Alita Raid, he doesn't like cyberpunk, and yet he loves Alita Battle Angel because of the story, because of the contents of the story, and that is the thing that I think Avatar 2 is going to be missing. And I also think Avatar 2 is going to be borderline message over story. You know how I'm always banging on about the story has to come first. It'll be a good story, and the messages can be woven within that. But if you put message above story, that's when you go woke and go broke. So I know that for a fact that Cameron is very big on environmental issues. And I think that Avatar 2 is going to reflect that, and it may reflect it a little too strongly. So it may turn off the people who aren't, on that same wavelength. So I think he's riding the edge of the razor, if you know what I mean. He's got to be very careful that the story is better than the message, not the other way.
A small portion of the population, though, on Avatar did touch them. People with American Indian or Aboriginal heritage. That touches them, it does, but that's a very small population, compared to the general, viewing public, Well,
I felt that story as well, man. I'm not none of them, and I felt like they were pricks trying to take over the planet for that, and I got involved. I thought it was really good.
You got
I know what
invested.
everyone's whinging about.
Well, I'm not talking about the value of the message, right? I'm talking about whether the message is up front or whether the story is up front. If the story is up front and the story is good, then people will take in the message by osmosis. If you put the message first and say, you got to believe this, you got to be on the side of the indigenous population, you've got to be this, you've got to be that, some people, and it's not a small amount of people, will be turned off, and then they won't be interested in the movie, and they won't go, or they won't go back.
The thing about that movie as well that really captivated me was, like you were saying before, was not only the graphics, but it was the world. Like, you know, when he got off the plane at the start and was, you know, in the wheelchair and all that, and just that whole world, man, I was invested. That was only the start of the movie, man. I had the whole movie unfold in front of me in 3D, and it was just out of this world, especially when he went into the forest for the first time and in 3D, and there was shit floating around the cinemas, and I'm just trying to touch it with my hands. Unreal.
You know, my departed mother, I took her to that twice. I took her to it. My father was actually in hospital with heart failure at the time, and we decided to, you know, get away from the whole, you know,
situation.
Absolutely deplorable situation, and go to see a movie. And this was on at the time, so it was 2009. And we went and saw the movie together because, you know, I'm hanging with my mum down in Melbourne, and that's where my father was in hospital. And we went to see this movie, and she really enjoyed it. And then I told her when I got back to Albury, which is where my parents were based at the time, where I grew up. I told her that I was going, because this was near Christmas, so I was going with some friends to Avatar again. She's like, "Oh, can I come too?" And I just looked at her like, "I've never seen you ask to go to see a movie that I liked a second time with me." Yeah. So I took my mother to the cinema twice to see that movie. So you're right, that movie did tend to connect to a lot of people on all ages. So I don't know if it's a Cameron thing, but I thought it was a good movie and a good message, but it was just a little bit rehashed. It was like, you know, the comparisons to
it's a very basic story.
Yeah, the comparisons to Dances with Wolves and Pocahontas.
That's
right. Are really there, and they're really obvious. I mean, he made a good fist of making it new again, but you couldn't really get away from how similar it was to other things that had already been shown.
You could say that about Alita too, but.
Yep. I was just going to say that.
In as much as it's taken them fucking nearly 30 years to get it to the screen, yeah. But in that time, other things have used those ideas and come to the screen and gone again. So,
well, this is why I like the idea of all of the avatars, man, as well, because they're not rehashed superhero movies that people are bored of now. You know, this is original shit. This is the made-up blue men, you know, the forest, all that kind of stuff. It's unreal. Like it's refreshing. It's like chewing fresh bubble gum for the first time, mate. It's fresh.
I reckon
it's an original work, and that's you know, you can always say, yeah, it's based on this and that, but basically it was a complete newcomer. There wasn't any books before. There wasn't any other movies that are in the Avatar universe. It was the first one. He hit it right out of the park in the first try, and it's something that you can't take away from that movie. And Cameron has always this ability to make. He works with simple plots, and you have. But what makes him work is they are simply very, very well executed, and he knows.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it sounds kind of negative, but he knows how to manipulate the audience. You know, he knows where to hit the feelings and get people like engaged into the story. That made it work with Titanic, that made it work with Avatar, and to a certain degree also with Alita, you know.
Well, Alita's perfect at this time of age. I mean, they're all doing the female protagonist now, and especially like, you know, like with the trans community and that body image when she's on the table, like and also people like Tilly with the, you know, they got someone to look up to now. Like she's come right at the perfect time. Like,
one thing is, like, it wasn't like designed to cater to them, but they found themselves in that thing. I'm sure they haven't like really the trans community in mind when they made the movie, but they created in a way that it appeals to a lot of people, and they focused on the story, and the people were smart enough to find themselves in that movie. So it wasn't even necessary to cater to anybody. So yeah, they say okay, they cater to young girls, but in the end, it wasn't the young girls who went in droves to that movie. To be honest, it was a marketing thing to say we cater to young girls because that is the popular thing to say. But in the end, it wasn't just young girls. It was basically everybody. Could end up falling in love with a leader.
Exactly. And that's the plot overall is what I'm pretty excited for, at least from a success standpoint, that the Motorball arc and Zapan arc have, is that those two stories, those two plots are really, really simplistic, but they have a really good shot at, because they don't need to develop the plot as much because it is simplistic, they can focus all of their time and effort on everything else about the film that is captivating. So they can focus on the character development, the world building, establishing the future of the franchise. But you've got a simple, straightforward plot that it has been told plenty of times in cinema, but if you can do it correctly and do it justice, it will really help out because, one, everybody who sees it will relate to it immediately, even a lot of the naysayers. So you have a really big potential to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I'm all for a simple plot that is executed well.
Yeah.
Well, they certainly have a lot of source material to work with.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
The
Just a bit.
one thing I wanted to quickly touch on is in 2018, and this was before I was, or long before I became a part of the army. I was crazy heavily into Dragon Ball, probably like Den's counterpart, Aussie counterpart, if you will, and Broly was was like what a leader is to me now, at least back then anyway. And I saw that in the cinema. I think one, two, three, four times within the space of a
No, you
week.
can count.
I know. That's about as far though. I've only got
Did you have to use your fingers for that, mate?
Yeah. I could only use one hand because the other one was preoccupied.
Yeah. Sounds like over Broly.
And like every single time I saw the Broly movie, it was like, I knew it was the second, third, fourth viewing, etc. And then I've viewed it multiple times on streaming services since then, and on Blu-ray, and it didn't bore me at all. It still sucked me in every single time, every single line, every single action scene, and like whatever Broly did right, Alita did better when it came along the year after, and that's why I think that, coupled with people that are just itching to get out from lockdowns and whatnot, that they'd want to go to the cinemas and escape reality more so than ever. So I'm thinking, worst case scenario, yes, there'll be less screenings. So hopefully, if they realize that people want to come back to the movies, they'd want to have longer periods when they're screening. You know how movies only go for a 6-month run or something like that, or maybe a little bit longer depending on how successful they are. maybe they'd have to extend that.
Oh, we're already seeing that now. I mean, there's tons of movies that are still out in theaters right now that normally there's no way they'd be longer than 8 weeks, but there's movies that have been out 10, 12 weeks.
And there's some
Yeah,
old
Tenet
movies
the
out too.
Yep.
I think Tenet was around like for 4 months or so. People could still see it in February, and they brought it last year somewhere.
Yeah.
Still got to
That's
see
also
it.
true.
Yep. Yeah, Tenet was out for I don't know how many months. It was.
Was that movie any good? I never saw that movie.
I really liked it. I also saw it in theaters. There was a lucky, span where cinemas were open up in like October or so before the lockdown started again. And I watched it there, and I really liked that movie. So it gets kind of complicated towards the end, and there's really a lot of stuff where you have to wrap your head around. And this is definitely one of those movies you should watch a second time, at least, to get the full grasp on it. Especially there's one battle in the end that is so wild, and there's so many people on that screen that you often lose track of all the things what's happening. Well, it is really good. I really liked it, and it has a really interesting concept.
Still did
You
pretty.
should watch it.
Technically flopped. I don't know what's worse, COVID or critics. Because obviously
I'm
Tenet.
not sure.
Critics, come on, you don't even have to ask
Yeah,
that question.
critics are a lot worse.
Yeah, I
There's
would
no
say,
cure for them yet.
COVID is just
it
doing
bites
what
a bullet,
COVID is just doing what a virus does. Critics have no excuse.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have
And
to remember
this
that.
this movie bits a bullet. It was one of the first that were major tentpole movies that were shown in the pandemic time, while other movies kept pushing and delaying because they were too antsy to show the movie. And yeah, the studios were right to be afraid, and Nolan bit the bullet and showed the movie in theaters. And yes, it didn't do like super huge amounts, like maybe 300 million in total or so. That's it did not that much, so they lost quite some money on it.
What about Return to Zolom, guys? Where would that fit?
See, there's a couple of places.
That sounds like effort, man. You all right to talk about this?
You have to understand that ever since I decided to write a sequel to the first movie, I have been working on this. This has been one of those things that has been grinding it round in my head for the last 2 years.
I know somewhere it would fit.
Whoa.
What? On a pineapple pizza? Is that what you're talking about?
Wow.
Oh yes. Food for the angels.
I think this part of the movie, getting up to Zone, is pretty important, but because when you go through a lot of people's tweets, they want to know what's up there, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can look at those pictures there, and you can see that it's sort of like a very fancy city. It's like tight skyscrapers and like there's a dome there, which is some sort of like, it could be a sports dome, or it could be sort of a meeting place, or maybe it's their version of like Parliament House or what have you. But obviously, it is like a city, and it's high tech. Now, if you go use the manga as a reference, Kishiro was thinking it was more sort of like Greco-Roman than sort of high tech. Well, the tech was there, but it was sort of hidden behind the facade of sort of a Greco-Roman kind of design. But I don't think that that's how Cameron was considering it. He's really thinking super high tech, sort of like Gold Coast on steroids. Hey, Davo, something like that.
Yeah, how about the fourth movie being called Alita Destroying Angel or something like that?
Killing Angel.
Yeah, Killing Angel, yeah.
Yeah, well, I just know when
How about Angel of Fury?
Angular Theory. What about it? What about it?
Angel of Fury.
Oh, Angel of
The
Fury.
dog.
The
The
dog's
dog.
Fury.
Yeah.
We gotta have Fury in the movie somehow.
Well, they do.
He's already there. He's in the bar.
Well, no, he's not. He's a cyborg dog now.
Now, Fury was one of the 3 dogs that attacked, or actually 4 dogs that attacked Grishka and drove him off. After
I would argue he wasn't, because Fury is a hound dog, and none of those 4 dogs were hounds.
Well, yeah, none of the dogs are hounds. That's just it. And the dog that died wasn't a fucking poodle either.
Well,
in the anime.
well.
Yeah, I think they played with the dog. What are they called? They're not species. They're because they're all the same species. Breed. Yes, thank you. Breed. Yeah. So they played with the breeds.
I'd just be surprised if they pass up on a Basset Hound, just given how adorable the dog breed is in general.
Well, it kind of tied into the way because Fury's last order was to look after Koyomi. Now Koyomi was like 3 or 4 at the time, and then there's the 10-year time jump, but Fury's still there. So Fury's getting old, man. That's why he's always falling asleep, and it worked into that breed's demeanor as well. That it sort of like sat around until it had to do something, and it got up and did something, and went back to sleep again.
Yeah.
What's wrong, dude?
There's some random stuff you see on the Twitter timeline.
You see all kind of random shit on the Twitter timeline.
Oh man, I just shared it, but anyway.
So we can blame you, can we?
Yep, just like everything else.
So we can blame you for not having a sequel yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah, I remember like with Zalem, right? Like I remember first wanting to see what was up there from the anime, because the anime was the first thing I ever seen about Alita. I never even knew the manga existed. I just thought it was an anime, and then yeah, when that ended, I was like, well, I want to know what's up there, man. That'd be tip top. But
Yeah.
you just never either read the manga or never knew it existed to find out, and I was just like, oh well, that's the movie then. See you later. So I think it's pretty important that we get up there. I don't know if it'll happen in the trilogy.
It probably
according to later, it was supposed to be the 3rd movie, but I mean, going on the amount of time she spends in the actual original trilogy up there, it's only in the non-canon ending. She doesn't actually get there until Last Order if you don't count the non-canon ending. So I'm not quite sure how that's supposed to work. Are they going to head to the non-canon ending and just call it quits and not worry about Last Order? And if they do that, I'm going to be very pissed.
No. They got to go to Last Order, Maxie. They got to do that.
We see Last Order would benefit from a series because there's just too much in there to do a series of movies. It's just there's no way you could cut it. The arc is basically 19 volumes of one arc. There's no multiple arcs like in the first series. It just doesn't exist. There's one arc, and that is the Zot and everything that happens around the Zot. That is the arc. So how do you do it? You'd have to do a series, I reckon.
The first thing I would do is reserve the vampire part to flashbacks only.
Yeah.
And that would be its own series then
Spin it
later.
out as
But
its
that's
own
the first
series.
thing I would do.
Spin it out as its own series.
Well, yeah, getting back to the Zaban bit, do you reckon when, like, you know, Alita cuts herself in half, could she feel that?
I'd say so.
Because I was sitting there thinking, like, like a Game of Thrones style scene where something epic happens and it goes all silent. Imagine that part with her slowly cutting herself in half, just screaming. Just to get to the gat. That'd be insane.
I think they just retcon her not screaming, saying that like she killed the pain receptors in the body and like cut herself off that way.
Well, she didn't scream when Grewishka, when he kind of chopped her up. She didn't scream then. I mean,
Nah.
But she did on the initial.
It was more looking like
the way
she
I
was.
took it was she can feel the initial pain, but once she's cut through, then it shuts off.
Yeah. It's probably like all the fluids and all the crap just slowing her down, and she's more worried about the fact that she can't really. Well, I wouldn't say she's worried, but she's less efficient.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Well, what am I going to do now?
Crawl around with a stub of an arm, which is what she did after Gruishka cut her up.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the next topic there, Creaky. Sorry, mate, to hijack that.
Oh, that's okay, man. I would really like to see this. I know that's in the last order, but God, I'd love to see the Zot.
I haven't read that part yet.
The Zot reminds me of Dragon Ball Z. Not that I've watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z, but that sort of combat-y sort of thing. Or actually, no, probably not Dragon Ball Z. More like Mortal Kombat. If Angelus is here and it can be involved in this conversation. You there, Angelus?
Am I where? What?
Okay, well, part of him's here anyway. Probably enough to. So you just went and saw the Mortal Kombat movie, right?
Oh yeah.
Does it remind you of the Zot at all?
It reminds me of the former movie, only better.
The former movie, only better. What?
Did you
like the movie that it's rebooted from?
Right. But what I'm saying is the format, you have multiple bouts and working your way towards a title. That sort of progression is in Mortal Kombat, yeah?
In that sort of movie,
Sort of what they do, yeah. Well, I'm thinking that the Zot would work like that. So
to me, it reminded me of Hunger Games.
Do you reckon that kind of format but would work well in this kind of movie? It seems like it wouldn't, because Alita's more of you could say like an RPG style movie as opposed to a fighting movie.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on around it. Like the focus is, the focus for the characters and the crowds is the Zot, because that's the big thing that's happening, and obviously Alita and the Space Angels are involved. But there's all the stuff going on around the outside, the secret missions and the double blinds and the misinformation and the bad guy trying to work out whether or not he should blow the whole fucking thing up. There's all that stuff going on too. So it's sort of like Ocean's 11, Mortal Kombat, and maybe a James Bond movie all rolled into one.
The Zot kind of reminded me a little bit. There's an old movie that was in the 70s called Rollerball. And that the very last thing where Jonathan E. is basically, the idea is to kill him. That was the whole idea. And, it was just pure destruction at the end. And it kind of reminded me of that in some ways.
If I told you in multiple interviews that Yukito Koshiro had cited the movie Rollerball as one of his inspirations for this manga, would you believe me?
Oh, yes.
Oh, absolutely.
In those interviews.
For all of Battle Angel as his inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was one thing I don't remember which interview it was in, but I started watching and reading a lot of different articles and stuff, and that was one of his main his main draws because of how that film kind of held up Japan in a lot of ways and put them in a spotlight,
Yeah.
whereas most films would have just blatantly ignored them. And then you look at Rollerball and the main characters and compare them to everybody in Alita's world, and it lines up pretty well.
Yeah, it does actually.
Just like you said.
It kind of reminds me of that last between Houston and New York, that reminded me of that a lot, I mean, it was just pure mayhem. Yeah, I mean, that.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah, I saw that movie several times too.
But I took the Zod as more of like a Hunger Games. That's kind of what it reminded me of. But it's kind of like you say, it's a lot of things all rolled up into one.
Yeah.
We could probably pick 8 or 9 films and combine them all into one thing, and it'd take that long to do it. But assuming this is a raging success,
yeah,
let's launch another 10 films. Why not?
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to 10 films.
I mean, Marvel did like 20 films to tell one story of Thanos coming to Earth, so what the heck?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's consider the fact that
Is that Fox snoring? Has he fallen asleep?
Fox.
I think it might be.
What are you dreaming, little angel?
Well, it is 2:00 in the morning where he is.
Yeah, pretty harsh. And it did sound to me like he'd had a couple before he got talking. So
how can you tell?
I was just about to ask that.
I've spent a lot of time talking to you guys. I can.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, Dizzy always sounds drunk, so I just put that down to Dizzy.
Oh, that's Dizzy. Now you're talking about Dizzy now.
Yeah. I could tell Fox had been on the cans, so.
Dizzy doesn't sleep; he just drinks.
Yes.
YOLO.
Yeah, the problem is you drink so much you don't remember it. Notice he didn't refute it. He just laughed.
That's my problem. I can't remember anything anyways, so I don't drink. All these ideas are me sober, so you see why I don't drink.
You mean you can't remember if you drank or not?
That's the best kind of drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys,
Remind me
did we miss anything in terms of any other stories that we would want to see in a sequel or a trilogy or 4 movies or 5 or 10?
Quadrology is 4 movies.
Yeah. I would be okay with that.
Same.
Yes.
Look, I think it needs 4 to get to not lose decent content. I mean, you're going to be trimming from the contents of an entire manga anyway, but to really make the story stick and not have why did that happen? How did we get there? Why did we get there? All that sort of to not have these jumps that don't make a whole lot of sense, and then you fall into that trap of having to read the back novels or side stories or whatever just to make it work. I think you need 4 movies rather than 3.
He's out of it. Listen to him go. It's like a chainsaw.
Yeah, I told you it was Foxy Evidence.
It's hectic now.
We did miss something though.
What's that?
I want to see the AR series.
Oh yes, they need
Oh,
to.
yeah.
I mean, we did get the. It did get alluded to.
Well, I said the Toon Dark.
I forget.
We have to have the AR series so that they can prime, the second series of movies with Zex in it, because you can't have Zex without the AR series because it doesn't work.
Well, I guess to me, I would consider that part of the Toon Dark.
Well, it is.
That
I'll
was my.
I would love to even just see another motion capture Alita versus Alita. That'd be interesting.
Oh, like the 12 of them or whatever that come after her.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That'd be sweet.
That is the AR series. That's what he was referring
Yeah.
to.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, that's all right. Yeah.
Seeing Elf and Swerve would be good. With Nova,
hmm
The bunnies.
So suppose the AR shows up and it's Rosa.
That's what I'm saying. Like, can you imagine
Like,
even
no
just like
CGI.
two Roses
No
on-
CGI.
It's like they'd have to have. Maybe they could literally have like a second body double, like have Selena and someone else go for it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because I already did plenty of that anyways to make Battle Angel. So then have the AR be actually Rosa.
Well, what you'd need is like Rosa's stunt double and Rosa at her best, and then have them go at each other, because the
Yeah.
stunt double would have to have learnt to copy Rosa's style to be functional as a stunt double. So, presuming that they both know the same techniques, then
Well,
they
and don't
could
forget
have
too,
them
they
fight.
made the Rosa puppet to make Alita.
What do you mean by the Rosa puppet?
So in order to make on Weta's little CGI behind the scenes, whatever, they were trying to figure out how to do Alita properly and like to get all the facial movements and everything correctly. So they said, "Ah, heck with it. We'll just make a perfect copy of Rose's head and have that be our middleman between Rose's actual face and Alita's face." So what they did is they mapped everything on the quote unquote Rosa puppet and then transferred those movements, that program, to Alita. So it became basically a middle ground. So it's like, okay, well, we'll make it in CGI. We'll make what is actually happening in CG and then transfer that CG to Alita.
Yeah, they had to abandon that whole thing of just trying to go the other way around with it, didn't they? Because Rosa was so good at it that.
Correct. Yeah, they had to abandon. They started out that way, and then they abandoned it completely. And the only way to perfect it was, well, we've got to have some kind of a baseline to know our CGI program is working correctly. So they made Rosa.
Yeah.
So they do have that at their disposal. It's a really cool behind the scenes thing. There's tons of videos on it.
When you said puppet, I was thinking of something from the Muppets or whatever, one of those hand things.
No, sorry about that. That's actually what they called it.
I know that Angelus is a big fan of, obviously, Angelus from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but the Angel series, there was an episode where he got turned into a Muppet. And when you said that, I was thinking about Rosa as a Muppet or Alita as a Muppet. That would be funny.
How would they control that?
The old-fashioned way.
What's that? No, never.
Very carefully.
Yep. They got enough experience with animatronics. That wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, we're gonna have to mute that.
On the live stream, read the live stream, the bonfire snores, turn on.
And it's forever immortalized on Creaky Stream.
That's right.
We're gonna clip this sucker.
Oh yes, please. Creaky, please, for the love of God.
No, we're gonna leave him muted for a while here. I really, I know this sounds a little weird, but I really want them to make Alita in a sequel, especially in that TubeBuddy. I want them to make her like super sexy in that thing because I want to piss people off with it. That's what I want to see.
Well, it makes sense because people bitched about the eyes. The camera said, "Make them bigger," and so go the opposite to what the whingers want, and Alita's cyborg body's too sexy. Make it sexier.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
there you go. That's what we want.
I just really hope they make the other ones more than a PG rating. I really want that.
Yeah, an R would be nice, wouldn't it?
It
I
would
want
certainly-
that shock factor from a goody two shoes. Well, not a goody two shoes, but like a good character to just bloodthirsty, cutting stuff, just epic.
That is the absolute best reason to do 3 more films, because you could do, I think it'd be entirely possible to do the Japan and Motorball arc on a hard PG-13 rating. Then with that being a wild success, you would do a soft R for the 3rd film and a hard R for the 4th film.
you'd be pushing your luck to get Japan, the Japan of the Zerkapan thing, as fitting into a hard PG-13. That thing is horrific, and if they do it properly, it should be fucking horrific.
Depending on how horrific they make it, though, that can actually buy them even more freedom because it looks less human. So then you're killing that much less of a person. So then it buys them even more freedom.
Yeah, but you're only looking at it from one angle. You're only looking at it from the killing angle. I'm looking at it from the what represents horror and what rating a horrifying.
Have you seen what they did in Shazam to the 7 deadly sins in Shazam? So you're talking more so than that in terms of looks.
Yeah, way worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I take it you've read the So he the scene in Kansas 2, right, where he absorbs people.
Yeah.
That's fucking body horror at its extreme, man.
Just saying.
Like seriously,
I think it would be doable, but I think
into another organism is a fucking freaky idea that's going to really scare the fuck out of a lot of young people.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting in
the
that
young people are kind
interview
of crazy now.
With the Ada that how she was saying like it's all still there, but it's just that, like, for instance, with the dog got chopped up, like in the anime, like you can see that, but they just pan the camera up a bit, like it still happened, but just off screen, you know.
And you saw the soft ones getting really upset. I can't watch this movie. A dog dies.
Yeah, I saw several
get over
tweets.
it. It's like fuck.
The kicker is, I don't think you can make the Japan and Motorball arc for anything under about $130 million. If the first film was made for about $150, I don't know if you can shave more than about $20 or $30 million off the budget.
Well, what you've got to remember is it's the cost of production versus the cost to the backers. So the cost of production was $200 million.
Yep.
So
well, either way, then it gets that much worse.
Yeah, but it cost that much to make it. But then with all the grants and everything, that cut it down by a quarter, which was great. But then we have to consider that it's no longer new technology. The technology is now several years old, so it's going to get cheaper.
That's the biggest saving grace.
Yeah, well, the models are made. The only reason that they put that final scene in the movie, I feel, was to have the model already made for Alita in Motorball.
I would agree completely.
Completely. That is the reason they put it in there. The fact that it worked really well was, like a bonus. But the reason that they had that scene there was to set up Motorball not only in the story, but to have the model ready.
And they also have all of Iron City, so that's all the more reason. If they can stick to Motorball and stick to Iron City for the better chunk of the film, they can save a ton of money that way.
And I got to think that the bums in seats, presuming COVID's over and cinemas are running back close to normal. I mean, we won't have as many cinemas, but that will just mean that there'll be more bums in seats per session because there's not as many cinemas to spread it around. But presuming that cinemas are running again normal and COVID isn't a problem, and there isn't some other fucking problem that comes up. Thank you, 2020.
You've just jinxed it, man. Fuck.
I know, but anything could happen. But what I'm saying is, if we have a normal cinema sort of environment, then the number of people that have now seen Alita, like millions of people have seen it on streaming and everything. If it comes out in cinema, they'll go because they're like, well, fuck,
Yeah.
that first movie was awesome. I want to see the sequel in the cinema. And if they start doing back-to-backs, like after the first week of individual sessions of Alita 2, they could start doing double features and have 1 and 2 in 3D in IMAX together. That would fucking draw them out like nobody's business.
Yeah.
They did that
So I'm having a
for.
little cinema wet dream here. Just don't mind me.
They did that
No
for Star Wars, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, they had Star Wars and Empire back to back.
You know what? I might go to the movies today. What do you reckon? Kong
Watch
vs. Godzilla or Mortal Kombat? I haven't seen either of those yet. Maybe I'll do a
Both.
back-to-back, mate.
Both, yes. No,
And
seriously
Josh is
though.
our local our local cinema guru, so he'll be able to tell you which one's preferable.
Do any of you guys know about the technology that they used in The Mandalorian there at the end? Not to spoil too much, but Luke Skywalker, he didn't wear a performance capture set of cameras like Rosa did, and they pretty much nailed his face being 30 years old or 28 or whatever he was. I did hear or did see a couple of complaining tweets about, well, this isn't the Luke Skywalker that was in the original movies. Well, no, because he was a teenager then. He's older, but his face looked pretty right on. If you've seen him lately, he's kind of grizzled,
Yeah, no, what they use for that, man, is I did a bit of research on this. They use the paid version of the Face app. They got the extra features, mate, and it turned it into that.
Well, is that cheaper, Dizzy, or what? Is that cheaper than the performance capture that they used, or what?
Yeah, it's about $9.95 a month.
I think he's hanging shit on you, mate. Now, look, there's been a number of complaints about the sort of
You're a cunt, Dizzy.
the lack of expression of Luke's face. The Corridor crew did a particularly good expose about how it's exactly what they were talking about with Rose's portrayal of Alita, and how all those micro movements and micro expressions came across, and that's how it made it real, because that is all the sort of subliminal shit that you see when you're talking to somebody face to face all the time, and it doesn't register cognitively, but it registers in your subconscious. And if you're not seeing that, that is why video game cutscenes look a bit flat and weird, because there aren't any of those micro expressions. You don't see the little bounce of the eyebrow or the little tweak of the lip as they're talking or what have you, because it's all computer generated. So that you don't have all those tiny little almost flaws of natural expression.
Yeah,
and
I guess Mark Hamill didn't have that, did he? I mean,
no, Martin. Well, it was a short section, but
yeah,
I mean, they did a reasonable job on it, but it still didn't quite look natural. He was a little bit flat. He was a little bit unnatural. There was a little bit uncanny valley because he didn't have the micro.
What sold it though was the expectation of people watching it, and they saw that face, and it's like, it's like they suspend their disbelief. They, it's like, that's Luke Skywalker now. So they probably didn't mind at that point, I guess.
Oh well, I think the Luke fanboys were just off cleaning themselves up in the corner. They didn't care. It was Luke. Luke was back.
Yeah, exactly. I remember watching I guess they did a video of Mark Hamill watching that, and he was commenting. He says, "No, that's not Luke. That's not Luke. That's not Luke. That can't be Luke." And it turns out it is. And it was funny.
Well, the people that that's a different conversation.
This is your stream, man. You can change the conversation whenever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate. Just put some extra flyers up. She'll be right.
Anybody can change anything. By the way, Maxie, did you get that OneDrive link I sent you today?
Yeah, I did. I replied to it. Oh, today?
Yeah, I finished that. I finished it. So.
Oh, well, like you've sent me one link with that video.
You got 2 links now.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Aha, there we go. Okay, you slipped it in there. All right.
Yeah, it's kind of in raw form.
Yeah.
It's kind of big. It's 400 gigabytes.
I think we're boring Foxfire here and snoring again.
Yeah, well,
Maybe we should wake him up. Maybe we should talk about
he's muted.
Queen Studios bus or something, huh?
He's muted.
You'll have
muted.
me dreaming about it.
I thought you guys missed him a lot, so I just decided to imitate.
Oh, you were imitating me.
Yeah.
He should drink coffee before he did that, right, Diz?
Yeah, mate. brew up. Caramel latte.
Yeah.
Goddamn, I swear, bloody Vladdy's influenced me because now I'm shopping for 1 to 6 scale clothes now.
Are you fit into them or what?
Oh, go ahead.
Huh?
What?
No, go ahead, Diz.
No, never mind.
I didn't hear your question.
Go ahead, Dave. You shopping
That's
for
what I'm saying.
some clothes for yourself or something, were you?
No, 1 to 6 scale clothes
Yeah.
for the Hot Toys Alita.
You get one?
Well, yeah. Didn't you see the tweet?
Nah.
I was one of the ones that won the thinger that Fox put out.
What did you have to do to win that, mate? What did you get up to?
To tweet during the thinger,
Was
the
it-
trending event.
I think you had to find the particular tweet and then retweet it. The particular tweet that Fox had about the competition
Ah, right.
with the hashtag to enter.
You were one of the lucky ones, Dave.
I was one of the lucky ones, yeah.
How do you feel about that, mate? You happy?
Fucking
Stoked.
fucking ripper. Bloody unreal.
That's right, mate. I like to hear that. Get excited.
I'm big Kev excited. Only Dizzy and Maxie will understand what that means.
Didn't he cack it?
Yeah, you used too many
Yeah, he
cleaning
did.
products. You got a bit too excited there, mate.
Maybe he had got too excited and had a bit of a heart issue minutes later.
Yeah, I think that's what it was actually.
I think you'll get that issue when you get the Hot Toys, mate.
Did we miss anything on the sequels, you guys?
No.
I guess the big question is, if Zalem is now in about the Bahamas region, does that make the city floating opposite of it somewhere in Australia?
I think it's down in Panama, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's directly opposite Panama on the globe? I think it's probably Indonesia or somewhere, isn't it?
Close enough.
Well, let's see. Yeah,
It's about that far on the map.
Well, it would have to be just inside the southern hemisphere because I think Panama is in the northern hemisphere barely.
Yep. Just barely.
Yeah. So I don't know if it could be Indonesia or not. And that whole thing about it being Kansas City, I've been through Kansas City many times. There's no mountains around Kansas City.
Was there lots of
No,
tornadoes?
that is the flattest.
It just isn't.
flat-
I mean, there's a few rolling hills, but I mean, no, there's no
Those are
mountain.
speed bumps.
To me, it looks like Denver, but
Yes. I would go with anywhere in Colorado or Utah.
yeah, because the mountains, you see them in the distance, Yeah, exactly.
So obviously, the Granite Inn is the old NORAD facility. I say old, not
Yeah,
current.
Cheyenne Mountain.
Yeah, but where is Cheyenne Mountain? How
It's
far is
down,
that
it's
from?
down in It's down in Colorado Springs or Manitou Springs, down in that area. That's
So how
about,
far is that from Kansas City?
oh Jesus, probably 600 miles at least.
Nah, that's all right.
Because
Yeah.
that's where she ends up chasing him to.
If I could walk 500 miles.
There's the song she's playing on the train.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I
Good
got to
old
see her
Alita.
on the train too. I got to see that. You know, the scene I want to see is where that butterfly
What about
shows up, and her and that guy, you know, her and Figure Four and that guy that's hanging around with Figure Four. They're on top of this building or whatever. But anyway, this butterfly lands on this wall, and she shoots the shit out of it. You know, and Figure Four says, "What the hell was that?" You know, that was, to me, is really one of the funnier, you know, panels in the whole manga, I think.
The only question I have with that is, was the butterfly killed?
I don't know.
That's
She
the
sure
real
wasted
question.
a lot
Never
of
mind the building.
Didn't it end up on her hand or face or something?
Yeah.
Well, something ended up.
Ah, come on, mate.
Nothing I wouldn't have done.
That's what she said.
Oh, dear.
All right, guys. Well, I guess I'm going to bring the old stream to a close here. But before I do, this girl here, this lady rather, not girl. She ain't no girl. This lady here is #1 in my book, Jack.
Warrior.
She's a cyborg.
Betcha. Yeah, if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have an Alita, or at least one not as good, you know, as we got. I mean, yeah, a couple of those other actresses could have done a good job, I think, but not.
She got
like
the role
her.
for a reason, mate.
Say again, Diz.
She got the role for a reason.
You betcha.
Hey, has anybody seen her in that comedy sketch thing that she? There was a Twitter post about
College
it.
humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anybody seen that yet?
No.
She was on College Humor for quite a few years.
Oh,
So
so you think it's a drawback, or is it something new?
I couldn't tell if it was something new or not. I'd have to check again, but I know she was on College Humor, I think starting in like 2009 or 2010 or something like that, and did that for like 4 years or somewhere in there.
I saw her in that Star
There's
Trek.
a lot of funny sketches with her.
I saw her in that Star Trek short. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, Tribbles.
Yeah, the Tribbles. Yeah, that's right.
That was awesome. She needs to do more of that.
Yeah.
I would love it if she popped up in Strange New Worlds when it comes out. She could like be captaining another starship. You know how they occasionally have guest captains on other ships.
Yeah.
That
She
would be
needs
cool.
to be in more films where she is the character or center of attention. You know what I mean? It seems like she's in a lot of pop-up scenarios. You know what I mean, or whatever. But when she has her own thing, like Alita, or you know, the animated one. What was the TV show again?
It was a Star Trek short. I can't.
No. She had her own TV show, season 2. I forget. Everyone's
trying to remember. I've gone blank.
Sort of blank. Undone. Yeah, that's it. So when she gets her own center of attention in her own series or movie, she's unreal. She needs more of that.
Yeah.
You know, like more
agree.
Undone, more Alita, more, you know, not just these pop-up sketches. I mean, what was she doing in Chips, you know? Like, it's just a side character, and same with all the other ones. I would love to see her in more roles in where it's her movie or TV series. It'd be awesome.
Oh, she's young there, isn't she? Well, she's young now, but I mean, she looks like she's in her late 20s or something there.
What even is this, mate?
What What was that, Angelus? Angelus, are you there?
Just a song.
Fuck, it's sorry, mic was muted because I didn't want the sound playing, and
Yeah, we didn't.
I was skipping through it so the stream wouldn't get yeeted, and but yeah, so as you can see, it's like some sort of Beyonce parody, and
It's pretty.
done by
I don't
Dollar
know.
College Humor.
Uh,
I basically looked up Rosa Salazar College Humor on YouTube, and this is what came up.
whoa.
But yeah, she's super, super young. Damn.
Yeah, 11 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, she'd be probably 24, maybe 25 most at the most.
My age.
When did John sneak in here?
I don't know. He somebody opened the door and the wrong dogs came home.
That'd be me.
Sorry about that, John.
Wait.
Oh, you're fine. I'm just over here gawking at the Rosa videos over here.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
God. Yeah, Rosa. Wow. She always gets 4 hearts from me, Jack. I'm telling you.
Is Fox not snoring anymore?
Yeah, he's unmuted, so I don't know if he's.
He may have rolled off the table and be lying on the floor.
That was kind of
Okay.
funny, though.
So anyway, why is this image here? Well, I like it, and as Angelus pointed out last week, I'm running the stream, so that's why it's here. But yeah, because I like it. And to paraphrase Gawishka, I'm only here for a girl and the Alita Army.
And Davo.
Yeah, and Davo. That's right. Davo and I. Well, I tell you, Davo and I are here for the Elite Army. You know,
I
we
swear
do
to God, I half expected that to come up after the Elite Army bit too. And Davo. It's like, what? That would freak me though.
Yeah. No, Dave and I mean, Angelus and I both enjoy doing this stream, you know, because anything we can do, or just what little bit we can do to help get a sequel, you know, anything, you know, I'm all in for that one. So
It's like the Lemmings. You just keep on going and going and going, and eventually you beat the game.
Eventually they run out and die.
yeah. So anyway, Angelus, are you going to be the moderator? I mean, the host tomorrow?
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah. What's you want to tell folks what we're going to be talking about tomorrow?
You going to turn up on time this time, Davo, or what?
I was trying to find my mic.
I'm just looking at the show notes. I'm just looking at the show notes for tomorrow. Is Jeff getting on? Has Jeff got some time off work?
He's gonna he's gonna be there via the phone connection.
Oh yeah, but what? So he's going to still be working and he's going to come on. That's key. I think it's a topic close to his heart.
Well, it's not only that; it's a good way of, and I'll be spinning it in this direction, but it's a good way to spin the topic of like how the Alita message has affected you, and obviously it's affected him to the point where he's dedicated. Fox is dedicated. We're all dedicated.
Yeah.
Except like Dizzy's dedicated to drinking. It's like just a natural part of the function.
Wait, coffee or beer?
Both.
Both. Yeah, that's not the official thumbnail there.
So you know how they make an Irish coffee? You put like a liqueur in the coffee. Yeah, well, Dizzy makes a Tassie coffee. He just puts the beer in it.
Well, no, you put Irish
no coffee or beer.
Would you like coffee or beer, sir? Yes.
Yes.
Both.
Oh, we lost John Hoots.
You know that could be the official thumbnail. All we need is to add the other two ats into the bottom part, and then she'd be Jake.
We did a stream similar to this. It wasn't quite as in depth as this, I think. About 3 weeks ago, I think we did something like similar to this.
Did we?
Yeah, but how is Alita?
You mean on this one, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think ours was how's Alita changed your life or something like that.
Oh, John's got connection issues, and as just touching on the stream, this is a topic that, it's good to have every now and then because it's a way to sort of stop and recuperate. Or actually, no, recuperate is not as good of a word as rejuvenate is, and just to sort of rest and recover, a bit of R&R, and to get back into the fight again of a sequel. And one of the all-time sayings that I live by, I've forgotten it.
That's a good saying.
Yeah, it's a good saying.
It is.
As you get older, it becomes this saying. Fuck, I've forgotten it.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
Fuck, I've forgotten it.
So your body might be immortal, but your memory sure as hell ain't.
Okay, guys. Well, I guess, I hope everybody, we still got a few watching, come on the Radio Chaos stream tomorrow. Yeah, go ahead.
Whenever you feel like stopping, remember why you started.
What if you can't remember?
Same with fighting for a sequel. Yes, real life stuff happens, but if you ever feel like you're down and you feel like you just don't have any fighting left anymore, remember why you started.
Yeah.
And it was because of... And that's what we'll be discussing tomorrow on episode 63, Radio Chaos, the voice of the Alita Army.
Cool. Yeah,
You're getting better at this, Angelus. I think I told you that last weekend. But
yeah, he is.
Starting to hit your stride, man.
When he remembers shit and turns up on time, yeah.
He's not the only one in this list that's had that problem.
No, it's okay. We're pretty wide open on this stream. We don't worry about that.
You're talking about Mr.
Yeah.
He may or may not resemble that comment, yes.
Well, if he ever does rewatch this part, I love you, Fox. Please send me that HD Alita.
Once he's posted, he'll shit talk you some more. But
yeah,
hey, I've still got that motorball thing that I picked up from the markets a couple of weekends ago that you wanted, Angelus. Did you forget about that?
No, I remember you.
Chances are high that he did.
No, I've already got one, dude. You said you wanted it, and I said okay, but you've never given me your address or anything.
All the money.
Fucking money's easy. I just picked up a $150 card, but
no worries, Bill Gates.
hey, Angelus Musk, would you mind bankrolling the movie, please?
I'll think about it.
Fuck off in your Tesla.
No, I just gotta find a way to fit in pineapple pizza into the movie, and I'll be right.
Yeah. Speaking of pineapple pizza, that's what I'm going to have after a little bit here. So.
Well, it's set in a more tropical. It's set in a more tropical location, so Alita could be dreaming about pineapple pizza, and then it fades into Zalem floating in the sky instead of a pineapple pizza.
Oh hell yeah!
There's plenty of angles here.
Yes, there is.
Some of which are heretical and some aren't.
All right, guys, I'm going to bring the stream to a close, I guess. So let's do the call to action on my count of 3, and that would be 1, 2, 3. Bye. Baby. And thanks for watching the Alita live stream and all the chaos that's just Radio Chaos Cube that we had today. So bye.
Bye.